Hello, everybody. Welcome in. It's from the Bleachers here on the Fan Sports Network. Caden Formaster and Mark Musgrave.
The voice you know.
We welcome you into the show here from the Findlay Hyundai studio, coming out from the weekend, Easter weekend. So not just any weekend; it was Easter weekend.
It's a great weekend.
Yeah. Well, it was. It's always a good weekend, Mark, when you get out of town, right?
Absolutely.
And for you, that was the case.
It was
not
the
for
case.
me, but for you, that was the case.
Yeah, Macy and I, we buzzed down to Las Vegas. I was able to kind of cash in on my Christmas gift that she got me. We went down to Foreigner in Las Vegas at the Venetian Theater. By the way, awesome venue to watch a concert. It was very, I don't want to say intimate, but it was a smaller venue.
Mm-hmm.
And great place to watch a concert. It really was tremendous. And Foreigner puts on a magnificent live show. Magnificent.
Yeah.
Anyways, had a great time down in Vegas. Then yesterday for Easter Sunday, we just hung out together poolside and just chilled the whole day. And I'm telling you what, Mother Nature, she was smiling down on Las Vegas. It was warm.
It was a nice weekend overall. I mean, so yesterday, I'm not gonna lie, I spent most of my morning just inside, hanging out, chilling, just enjoying the fact that it was just a nice Easter Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, man, the weather's way too good for me to be inside. So after I took a little afternoon nap, because that's what you do on Sundays, take a little afternoon nap. Why not?
Absolutely.
We went over to my parents' house. We had an Easter dinner, and then from there we went outside, played some cornhole, and just a great day. Another thing we did on Saturday, because Saturday was also very beautiful.
Awesome day.
I bought this thing. I'm trying to get into golf a little bit more.
Yeah.
And so I got this thing that's helping me with my short game, and it's just like it's a target, and it's like a net, that you can set up. So basically it's kind of like a squarish net, but in the middle strip, there's three little baskets.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you can either go on the side or in the middle for three. So me and my brothers, we've made this game where if you make it on the sides, 1 point. If you make it in the bottom one, it's 3 points. If you make it in the middle one, that's 5 points. You make it in the top, it's 10 points. And we'll just throw out an arbitrary number of okay, we're going to go to 30 points, right?
Sure.
First to 30 wins. And so we'll set it up a good 20 yards away or something like that, and we'll just try to chip into that net. So that's what we did on Saturday.
Now,
it's kind of fun.
Here's the next step, though. I will tell you, having that translate to the golf course,
not as easy.
It's not as easy.
I'll
tell you what, I can do, I can shoot a flipping 64 on the range. Like everything, I'm just lacing right down the middle, and my chips are beautiful at the range, but for whatever reason, when you get on a tee box and it's just you and you've got 6 other eyeballs looking at you, it just changes things for some reason, whether your butt puckers a little bit more or whatever. it's just different, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Didn't know you'd heard that term butt pucker today, did you?
I wasn't expecting it on the show, I'll tell you that. That's very true. There's something about it.
But it's still fun to do what you're doing, though. For sure.
It's still fun, and we enjoy ourselves at least. So
speaking of some golf, there was a golf tournament over the weekend.
Yeah, it was
kind of a big
one.
deal.
Yeah.
They gave away a free jacket.
It was a green one too.
It was green. Yeah,
it was a green one. Yeah, good old Masters.
Yeah,
good old
John
Masters.
Rahm.
Can I tell you something interesting? By the way,
yes.
So last year for the Masters was when I was out of town. I was not here.
That's right.
I was in Tennessee. Here's what I did not put together until just this week when my sister-in-law in a group chat, because she went along with us, there's a big group of us, she sent hey, 1 year ago today, we were here. I was in Georgia while the Masters were happening.
Oh, my goodness.
And just the thought of that kind of just made me a little sick that I was that close.
Yeah.
And I was like, but I just didn't even think twice about it. I knew it was going on, and I also was in Georgia and never put two and two together.
But just didn't think it was down the road?
Until a couple days ago on, I think it was Friday's round, that I was like, wait a second.
And how far away were you from Augusta?
I was pretty far. I mean, because Augusta's off to the. It's in about the middle of the state.
I was going
but
to say,
off to the side.
yeah, I think it's about center. Yeah.
And I was up in the very tippy top of Georgia.
Yeah.
I snuck down from Tennessee into Georgia to go see something, and then so really I wasn't close enough for it to be that uncomfortable. You know, it'd be like if something was happening in Provo and you come into St. George.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Something like that. So,
well,
but still, it was enough that I was like, I was in Georgia while the Masters were going on. That's crazy.
Mother Nature, she kind of put her fingerprint on the Masters, but they still did get it through. You know, we talked about Friday and those trees falling, you know, midday Friday or late Friday, whenever those trees fell. You know, no spectators were hurt, thank goodness. But Mother Nature definitely put her thumbprint on this year's Masters. And Jon Rahm, dude, he battled, you know, the very first hole Thursday morning. I thought to myself, this was, you know, probably 18 hours after our fantasy Masters draft in our boss's room. And I was like, Jon Rahm comes out, he 4 putts.
Yeah.
The number 1 hole, double bogeys it. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm glad I didn't pick Jon Rahm. Well, now I wish I would have.
Can I show you? I got to show you a funny video too about that. Let me see if I can get this pulled up here and ready to go, where he kind of talks about this a little bit. So, okay, yeah, here we go. Yeah, so this is Jon Rahm after the win, of course.
Right.
And he's talking about what happened before the Masters started,
right,
and that 4 putt.
Right.
So let's see what he has to say. Here we go.
For those people who believe in jinxing other players, people, and whatever it may be, Thursday morning, when I was getting on the golf cart to get to this putting green 10 minutes before my tee time, I saw a text from a good friend of mine, and I'm going to name him because he is a Super Bowl winning champion, Zach Ertz. He said the text, I'm gonna paraphrase here, but he said, that first green looking like a walk in the park or something like that right now. 10 minutes before I 4-putted to start the tournament.
Well, so, that's one way that happens,
thank you,
right?
Zach. Don't ever do that again, please.
Yeah, it was, and boy, did he bounce back. You know, just even if you par that, if you're Jon Rahm, even if you par that hole and 2-putt it like you're supposed to do, I'm not talking about getting a birdie and 1 putt, just a normal par, he would have won this competition by 6 strokes. He still won it by 4, which is tremendous.
Very good.
Yes. But if he doesn't 4-putt that, I mean, he runs away with this tournament. Yeah,
it probably really wouldn't have been close. I mean, because even that last day, you know, when he was making that comeback, right? Because he did not lead going into the last day, right? Brooks Koepka is still on top, if I remember correctly.
I think by like 2 strokes.
I think, yeah, because I think he was like 12 under to 10 under was the next closest. So it wasn't like he was necessarily close at the time, but he just played such a good Sunday round in that final round. So yeah, you got to give credit where credit's due, and he had a great round. That's his second major win. He's won the U.S. Open. He's now won the Masters, so he's got 2 under his belt, and he's one of those that's probably deserving. I would say
for sure.
You know, there was a big storyline this week just because of that Sam Bennett kid, right?
Dude.
That came out of nowhere as an amateur and was in second place in the second day.
Yeah.
Or in the last day, he was at one point in second place. Now, he had a few too many bogeys in that final round that pushed him back. But
it was really the 3rd round and the 4th round. He shot a 76 which was supposed to be Saturday. He shot a 76 in the 3rd round.
Yeah, that Sunday morning, I guess. You're right. It was that Sunday morning that should have been the Saturday round.
But, man, he came out with 2 68s and was just playing lights out. And You got to think, though, at some point, playing with these guys that he looks up to so much, playing in Augusta, that pressure would mount and it would finally kind of get to him. And I think it did. I still think as an amateur, I mean, he held himself together really, really well. But you kind of expect that to happen as an amateur. I thought he did fantastic, though.
And pressure is one thing. And then I think another thing has to go along with, hey, how good are you at playing, was it 72 holes of golf, right?
I don't know. Let's ask Brooks Koepka.
Yeah, he played a solid 54.
Yeah, which is what Liv plays.
He played great 54, right? And so that's the thing. It's hard to play a good 18 sometimes, right? You might play a good 16 of the 18, but if you don't play a good, those two could come back to haunt you. When you're playing that many holes of golf, yeah, you have to be spot on, and there are very few people that are. And John Rahm will be the first to admit that first hole was not spot on, but it wasn't quite enough to throw him off. He did have some really good rounds. So
now, as much as I want to tease the live golfers by only playing 54 holes and all that kind of stuff, you know, Koepka was leading after 54. And then you're going to get guys, kind of teasing him a little bit because he plays live. Well, that's the difference. I got to tip my hat, and I am not a Phil Mickelson fan, but I'll tell you what, and when you get to a certain age, and Phil is at that age.
There's two things that factor into this, and you hit both of them, age and live.
And live, yeah. But when you are a certain age, what's the saying? I can be as good as I once was, but never.
Well, if it's like that country song,
it is
it's
like
I ain't as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was.
Yes.
Yeah.
So every now and again, that sun is going to shine on that dog's butt, and Phil will play like he's 32 again.
Yeah. And that was this weekend.
Sunday, he lit it up 7 under on Sunday, which was, he shot a 65.
Really, yeah.
And I'm looking at the scores here. It was the low score of that round. I'm not seeing anybody that shot a 65. There was a 66. But, yeah, he shot the best round on Sunday. So hats off to Phil and Lefty. Again, because I will get plenty of shots in as we move forward against the live golfers. But, hats off to Phil, man. 52-year-old, and, again, just looked really good on Sunday hitting the shots.
Yeah. Now, there's something here with the Masters, everything that went on. There's a storyline here with the Masters that I'm really excited to talk about. And if anything, I'm really excited to see in the next season of Full Swing, because I know they're going to make the twist on it look really dramatic.
Yeah.
And that is just the fact that there's a few live golfers that were in that top 10 or so through that last day. And that's definitely a storyline that we can't ignore, right? You're talking about Phil, you're talking about Brooks, and you're talking about Cam, right?
Yeah, right.
That were all in there as live golfers towards the end. And the conversation maybe is, hey, are these guys still part of that level? Can they compete with the PGA? I mean, there's a lot there, but at the end of the day, you look at it and it's like, okay, no one's watching live golf though.
Right.
The fans are not invested in live golf.
And that's what's going to happen.
Can this sway that though? Are fans going to watch the majors or the Masters and be like, hey, those guys did really good. Maybe I should start watching live.
I'm a golf fan.
Yeah.
And watching Phil, watching Brooksy, watching Smith, watching DJ not make the cut, watching these other live golfers, watching Patrick Reed actually perform very well. The most hated guy in golf. I still have no desire to go find CW on whatever streaming platforms that I have. I still have no desire to go find live. I just don't. So again, there's more fanatics about golf than me. I'm not just a casual fan. I do love golf. I love watching golf as well. I'll watch tournaments that aren't majors, but I still don't have any desire to go find live on the CW. And that's going to be the shame of this is, Phil and Brooksy, and Patrick Reed, they performed well. And you know what? Now we're not going to hear squat from them until the next major. We just won't.
It's true. It's true. I had to look it up because I was curious. That I wanted to see what their schedule is like, and they do have a tournament coming up this weekend in Adelaide, Australia.
Yeah.
And it gets
I couldn't
it's
have
just
told
like,
you that.
It's like, okay, you know.
So hey, I put a link on our notes, Kate.
Yeah.
See if you can't pull that up here, and I want to get your thoughts on this. It's during the presentation, where, and I think it starts at like 7 minutes and 10 seconds in, where he's I can't remember the guy's name that pretty much is the voice and everything of the Masters. No, not Jim Nance. He's one of the Master dudes. But anyways, he goes through and he thanks pretty much every single tour except, and when you get that pulled up, let me know. And I want to get your
close.
thoughts. I want to get your thoughts on if I'm just reading into this, or if there is, something, if there's something there. Like, what do they think about the Live Tour? Let's go ahead and listen to this.
Gotcha. All right, let's get it pulled up too for our viewers on YouTube, and let's get to it. Let's see what he says.
Ceremony. There are some special friends from around the world who are with us this week. I would like to acknowledge these organizations, and I would ask that you please hold your applause until I have recognized everyone. The USGA, the RNA, the PGA of America, the PGA Tour, the LPGA, the DP World Tour. I want to thank all of you for your help in making the Masters a success.
So, am I reading into this? Like I said, he names every single tour out there that has professional golfers. I mean, he even names the LPGA. Yeah, he names the LPGA, and then the DP Tour is
like the Corn Ferry.
No, it's the European PGA.
Gotcha.
They're on the same level, and they're partners as well. So you can go play the DP Tour, and you can also play the PGA Tour.
Correct. Right. That
So,
makes sense.
I mean, is that a mistake on their part, an oversight, or was Liv kept out on purpose?
It makes me think that Liv might have been kept out on purpose.
Oh, I believe that wholeheartedly. These guys are way too smart.
I know how these guys are.
They're way too smart.
Well, there's so much. Let's just call it what it is. There's so much anger and frustration coming out from these, especially these old time golfers. And I mean, even as golf fans. Now, I'm not an old time golf fan, right? I've been getting into the sport, especially like watching the sport,
Right.
only over the last couple of years.
Right.
And so I don't have the dedication to the PGA that everyone else does, but I also know what that would be like in other sports. Now, it's so hard to compare because there's not a lot of sports like golf when it comes to the way it's just structured. But I look at this and I see it as, hey, there's so much tradition in golf. And it's not that Liv is necessarily playing in a style that takes away that tradition, but they are financed from a country that has a lot of issues.
Just exactly.
Put it plainly.
Yes.
And people will have issues with that. And,
Right.
And so, yeah, I fully understand why they don't want to acknowledge it, because they look at it as more of like a money grab than it is a professional sport.
And you know what? I respect the guys that have come out and said that. Like, I just read a story the other day, and for whatever reason, I can't remember the golfer who was saying. He was a Live golfer, PGA Tour, and then went to Live, made the jump. And he was saying, he goes, to all these, I'm going to paraphrase.
Paraphrase away.
Yeah. Because there were a lot of, he's like, these golfers that left PGA Tour and went to Live because they want to, and for our radio audience, I'm going to do air quotes here, but our YouTube audience will be able to see it, to grow the game. He goes, that is BS. And he actually said
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure he did.
He goes, we went for the money. And you know what? I can respect that a lot more than somebody saying, I don't know if it was Bryson or not. I can't remember. For some reason, again, I'm Phil Mickelson's age. Sorry.
Fair. Hey, I do feel like it was somebody. It was a decent name though. It was a well-known name that said, "No, I'm going for the money."
Yeah.
Like they're paying me a lot of money to go. Of course I'm going to go.
And is it the kind of money you want to take? Well, you know what? Given the same option, would I turn it down? Probably not.
Well, I will say Brooks Koepka was one of those guys that wasn't very quiet about his reasons for going over, and it was basically that. He's just like, it's a steady stream of income.
Yeah.
I want the steady stream of income because he hadn't been playing
right,
well.
Right.
And so why not make that jump? Now, the irony comes that he did play well, actually, at this last major, of course.
Well, he says he's healthy and he's getting his game back, so we'll have to see. But that's the problem.
But what would it look like if he was on the PGA Tour?
Yeah, 80% of the viewing audience won't know how he's progressing because they won't take the time to go find the CW and watch these live tournaments. I'm not going to.
Especially when they're playing in a lot of the times they're playing outside of the United States. So sometimes these tournaments are starting at weird times, especially if it's Australia. They're probably playing these tournaments starting at what, like 9:30 at night?
It would be if it's Australia. Yeah.
You know, and they're playing it until 7 in the morning.
Yeah.
I'm not watching. I mean, at least not live.
I know it's a strange deal. And again, I know there's a lot of conversation, PGA versus live, and for all of our audience, I definitely lean towards PGA. I guess I'm an old school guy that way, but you know, it's going to be fun to watch, you know, moving forward in the next few majors and see what happens. I know there were a lot of people rooting for Brooks Koepka, not because they wanted Live Tour to win. And I think you were one of them.
I was one, and you know, it's funny. I talked to someone in the office, and I said, I wanted him to do well for the chaos.
The chaos, yeah.
I just wanted the chaos.
They wanted, yes. So it'll be interesting watching the majors going forward when the Open is here and the U.S. Open and all of that kind of stuff. And it'll be fun to watch for sure.
It will be for sure.
I still think Scheffler and Jon Rahm are the two best players in the world. I don't even know if there's an argument to be made. I think those two are just so skilled and they're playing at the top of their game right now. I know Scheffler, you know, didn't repeat, really never was in contention, but I still think Scheffler and Rahm are certainly the best.
Yeah, I agree. They're
playing good.
They're 1 and 2, if you ask me as well.
Mm-hmm.
So let's take a break, shall we? When we come back, more here on From the Bleachers, so stick around.
Did you know that St. George News has a new app? Download the St. George News app today and stay up to date on everything happening in Southern Utah. Get instant notifications on news, weather, sports, and more. Download the app today and get your local news now.
Hey, it's Sheldon Demke. Check out the latest episode of What's on the Menu, a behind-the-scenes tour of local restaurants. We'll see some of their favorite dishes and get an inside look on how these dishes are prepared. Check out this week's episode at stgeorgenews.com and click the shows on the menu tab.
As a local business owner, it's important to get the word out about your business. More people equals more revenue for you. Get your business in front of over 160,000 people in Southern Utah each week with St. George News. Contact St. George News today.
Media is everywhere. It's a part of our daily life, our routine, not just for entertainment, but to stay informed. Local media has the biggest impact on your daily life. It's what's around you, what matters. And at Canyon Media, our goal is to deliver the very best in local entertainment, news, and media. From our award-winning radio stations like 99.9 Coney Country to Southern Utah's #1 source for local news, St. George News, we believe in delivering free, fast, and accurate local news, entertainment, and information to all of Southern Utah through our entertaining on-air personalities and music, compelling local shows, and community events like the City of St. George 4th of July celebration and charitable events like Coney Coins for Kids. From our entire team of dedicated designers, videographers, salespeople, digital marketers, writers, and on-air talent, thank you for letting us be a part of your daily life. Canyon Media, here for you.
Check out this week's edition of TGIF on stgeorgenews.com. TGIF is your weekend adventure guide to all the fun and exciting things going on in southern Utah this weekend. Find this week's edition at stgeorgenews.com and click the shows on the menu tab. Have a blast this weekend.
Hey, it's Caden Formaster.
And Mark Musgrave, the voice you know with the Fan Sports Network.
Check out our local sports radio show, From the Bleachers, live every weekday from 4 to 6 p.m.
Listen to us on the radio on 99.5 or 95.3 FM.
You can also listen through the Fan Sports Network app or watch the show live on the Fan Sports Network YouTube page.
The Fan Sports Network is your home of Utah Tech Trailblazers, high school sports, and the pros.
The Fan Sports Network, Southern Utah's home for local sports.
Back at it here in the Findlay Hyundai studio. It's From the Bleachers, Caden Formaster and Mark Musgrave.
The voice you know.
Don't forget to sign up, guys, for the 3v3 basketball tournament going on with Nets on Fire. All proceeds going to help Cora Kids. You guys can sign up today over on the fansportsnetwork.com. This is any ages, 3rd grade through all adults as well. Men, women's. There's plenty of options for teams. So if you have a team of 3, sign up today. Go head on over to Nets on Fire, and it's going to be a fun tournament.
It's the battle on the blacktop.
Yeah.
Caden, are you and I putting a team together?
Should we?
Who would be our third?
Let's get Ben to do it.
We need a ringer. Yeah, I was going to say, we need a ringer if it's going to be me and you. Actually, I can still spot up.
I'm a pretty decent basketball
I can still
player.
spot up. I still got a decent hook shot, too, down low on the block.
Yeah, see, and I'm a good 3-point shooter. I'm a knockdown 3 shooter.
See, half court would actually play into my advantages. I don't want to play full court, backing up and down the court.
I would get winded fast. So that's a bad idea. Bad idea.
It's $150 per team, so it's
$50 a person.
$50 a person, and the proceeds of this tournament, they support the new Be More Girls Home, and it's a home for girls who have been living on the streets of Ethiopia.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yep.
You can go find more about this project. Just go to corakids.com. That's KORAHKIDS, corakids.com for more information. Tremendous
charity.
Cause, yeah. Yes.
Yep. So, yeah, go sign up for that.
They got 3-point shootout, slam dunk contest.
All sorts of stuff.
It'll be fun.
It's more than just the 3-on-3. There's food trucks that are going to be there as well. I mean, lots of stuff. It's going to be fun. Lots of entertainment. But there's prizes, of course, for the winners. So sign up if you can. It should be a fun time. That's coming up towards the end of April, I believe.
Yes.
So, yeah, should be good. And then I also wanted to remind everybody that coming up this weekend is the Washington County Fair. So if you haven't already, get your tickets for the fair. You can go to washcofair.net, get more information about that. Again, that's already this weekend.
That's crazy. It
should be great weather for the fair, too, which is awesome.
I'm still not used to it being in the spring.
Instead of like August, when it used to be?
Yes.
Yeah. It's kind of nice, though. I think people enjoy it in the nicer weather.
Especially the weather. Yeah, for sure.
I know that because I think before they did it before school started, if I remember right.
I think it was the weekend before.
Hot.
It was
so
no
hot.
question.
There's a few things that they get moved around, and you hear sides of it of like, either, hey, it's nice to do it in the summertime because kids are out of school, but then it's too hot, right? You kind of have to juggle that, or you could do stuff in the spring, but then people are still in school and you
Yeah.
have to wait for the weekend to do these kinds of things. Either way, I think this is a really solid option. I like doing it in the spring as
Yeah.
opposed to in August. Because then you can go spend more time and not just feel like you're roasting out there.
Yeah, because there's a reason why that place out there is called Purgatory. It's not because the purgatory's
It's not
out
because
there.
of actual purgatory.
Because it's hell.
It's because
It's how hot
it's
it
hot.
is. Yes. Yeah. So yeah, anytime they
funny.
can move that from the fall to the spring, certainly will help those temperatures out. And this weekend, I think it's supposed to be low to mid 70s.
It's supposed to be nice.
So
I guess I could look on my phone real quick.
Should
But
be
yeah, it's supposed to
fantastic.
be supposed to be way nice.
I mean, I know we're getting up into the high 80s at the beginning of this week, but I think towards the end,
We're in the high 80s right now.
Yeah.
It's 88 right now out there.
we kind of tail down though again.
Saturday's supposed to be 80.
Okay.
Friday night is the Chris Jansen concert.
Uh-huh.
And that's supposed to be, it's a high of 77 that day. So
Okay.
it'll be,
so it does
it'll be,
dip down a little bit.
It'll be high 60s
Yeah,
for the
that'd be
concert and
perfect.
stuff. But I think the concert's inside. Demolition Derby on Saturday. That's going to be perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect weather for the demo derby. That's going to be fun. So, yeah, it's great. Lots of good stuff going on here in
I'm
Southern
still
Utah.
not used to it being in the spring though. Still weird to
April
me.
has a lot of events though, because you have the Washington County Fair. We got the 3-on-3 tournament. We have LPGA coming in for the Epson
Yes.
Tour. That's coming up here in just a few weeks.
Couple
That's
weeks.
crazy.
Yeah.
2 weeks away.
I'll be lining
3
up
weeks?
some of our interviews as well. We'll have some of the pros on and we'll interview them, talk to them about what they're doing, where they're playing at now, what their thoughts are on coming to Copper Rock. And
So a lot of them have played it before.
Oh yeah.
A lot. I was looking through the list and I was like, I recognize you. I recognize you. I recognize you. Lots of memorable names that are still coming through.
One interview that we will definitely have is Daniela Iacobelli.
Ah, she's great.
She is the
she's so much fun.
She is the John Daly of the LPGA Epson Tour.
She's a party. Yeah.
Hopefully she gets to the LPGA Tour, but the Epson Tour, she really is the John Daly of the Epson Tour, and she is a fun person. You know, just awesome to be around. She is a party. You're exactly right. She's a party.
Yeah. There's a few as well that I noticed were coming back that I'm surprised just because there's some of those that are like, you know, they're the cute golfers too.
Right.
Like you have like Sierra Brooks that's coming back
Sierra
this year. I'm like,
Brooks.
how is she not in the LPGA?
Well, you got to be able to hit
But
shots.
She's got to make those shots.
She's
got some major sponsorship deals. I see her everywhere. I see her
TaylorMade.
everywhere.
Yeah, she has a huge following on social media.
Yeah, she's one of those that's all over the place
Yeah.
and sponsoring all sorts of different golf things.
Yep.
But she's going to be there this weekend. I saw
Absolutely.
her name on that list. So, yeah, I'm excited for just for the whole weekend. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, it will be fun.
It's going to be a good
And
time.
we'll have tickets to give away as well. So
Yes,
make
we
sure
will.
that you keep listening, whether it's on YouTube, whether you're watching and listening or listening to us, you know, streaming on the radio, whatever. However you access us, make sure that you are listening because we will be giving away tickets to that event, and it is a blast.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So,
I feel like there's so much to get to today. We've only scratched the surface, just talking about the Masters a little bit and some great conversations there, of course. With I mean, it was one of the more entertaining majors probably in a while, just because there were a few different storylines. You had a live guy leading it the whole time. That was great. That was fun. Let's put that behind us. We got a few other things to get to. We have NBA to talk about because that's now wrapped up heading into the playoffs. And the drama of the last day of the NBA season was just so much fun. Maybe not tons of fun for Rudy Gobert, but it was still fun.
dude, what was that all about?
Oh, man.
So now, is there prior history with these two players?
I just think Minnesota's had a rough year. Really,
Just frustration.
I think that they're just all frustrated. It's not the season they wish
Well-
they had had. Rudy hasn't played like he did in Utah. To be fair, he hasn't.
So Rudy kind of punches him in the chest. Now this is during a timeout.
Now there's the backstory to it. So I'm not gonna.
What's
I'm
the
not-
backstory? Help me out here.
So the backstory is that so I want to say it was Anderson that was the guy on the other end of it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he says something to Rudy about, hey, you need to block more shots.
Okay.
Rudy tells him, well, it'd help if you would actually grab a rebound. And then he calls him bleepity bleep bleep bleep. and Rudy gets mad, and I can't say that on radio.
I don't want you to.
And so Rudy punches him for it.
And then he goes after Rudy.
And then he goes after Rudy, and Rudy kind of just gets pushed back and steps away.
Yeah.
But what's interesting, so you have that situation. And by the way, Rudy is not traveling with the team to L.A. for the play-in game tomorrow. Is it tomorrow? Tomorrow or the next day?
No, I think it is Tuesday.
I think they play the game tomorrow.
Yeah, I think the Laker, because they're playing the Lakers, right? I think that is Tuesday, yes.
And I think the Pelicans play the next game. So anyways, so he's not traveling with the team. He's suspended for the game. To be fair, yeah, he's the one that swung at him, right? He is. But in that scenario, maybe I would have too. I mean, it's disrespectful, especially coming from your own teammate. And then what's crazy is on the other end, you had two Clippers that were getting in an argument with each other and pushing and shoving each other on the other side of the bench just minutes later. It's like,
you can't do that during a timeout.
Like, come on,
when all of the
guys.
cameras are on you, you can't do that. You have to contain your frustrations.
It's
you
insane.
can't do that against a teammate, for heaven's sakes.
Yeah, it's so crazy. And I get it. It's the last game of the season. Your tensions are high because you do know that the playoffs are now going to be on the line, and it starts to matter a little bit more right now, right? You also had who was it for the Timberwolves that punched the wall as well?
Oh, I didn't see that.
Who was it that punched the wall? I'm going to see if I can figure that one out because one of their guys punched a wall and broke his hand, and I can't remember which one it was. Oh, it was McDaniels. McDaniels punches the wall in frustration, and anyways, he hurt his hand, and now he's out as well. So it's just stupid. There's stupid things that are happening.
Yeah, you can't. Hey, when you punch a wall, I can guarantee you the wall will win way more times than you. That is not a good idea. You know, it was so funny you bring that up. I remember a time when my kids were younger, okay? And they were in that tween age where they really get on your nerves sometimes, right?
Yeah.
You know, that 12, 13, 14. And I can't remember which one it was, whether it was Dalton or Landon. But I was just really frustrated. I mean, they just pushed my button, whatever button it was got pushed. And I'm walking out of the living room, and I go boom into the wall, put a fist mark in it, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, this isn't our house. How stupid is that? So I would
just be glad you didn't punch a stud.
Yeah, no kidding. I would say for probably a year. I really don't have a time frame on how long it was there, but we put a little a Civil War, Captain America Civil War poster over it. So in our house for many months at least, there was this random, Captain America Civil War poster covering that fist mark. Again, you might think it sounds cool, looks cool to punch a wall. It's not. And the wall's going to win more times than not.
The wall wins. Growing up, so I'm the youngest of, there's 6 of us kids. I have 2 sisters, and then there was 4 boys. I'm the youngest of those 4. I have 3 older brothers. The 2 middle brothers got into a fight, and one literally pushed the other one through the wall.
Yeah.
And there was like a person-shaped hole in the sheetrock of the wall.
Right.
Just right between the 2 studs, just perfectly. And so we had a person-shaped hole in our wall for a little bit, and my parents were like, at this point, we probably should just get new. So they completely redid all of the walls in their house.
Really?
Like full sheetrocked everything in that whole room.
So it was like a cartoon, like a cartoon.
It kind of, I mean, it was more
that went through the wall.
It kind of. I mean, it was definitely more just a big old oval shape.
Yeah.
But yeah, my parents had to go redo all of the walls, and granted, the walls they had before they were pretty thin, so they upgraded, but still, I mean, like you say, it might sound cool, but in the moment, it's not all that cool.
No, exactly. Macy just texted me and says I share too much.
Yeah, you probably do.
I probably do.
Hey, but at
I
least you're
probably do.
telling on yourself.
Yeah.
At least you're telling on yourself. Well, let's get back into it with the NBA, though. So NBA right now, yes, the playoffs are going to be getting started here tomorrow with the play-in tournament. Starting off 5:30, Hawks are in Miami, and then you have Timberwolves and Lakers.
Who wins those 2 games? Home teams?
Miami and LA.
Yeah, home teams.
Yeah. As much as I don't want LA to win,
I know you don't.
I think they do. And then you have Bulls, Raptors, Thunder, Pelicans. Again, I would say Pelicans win that, and the Raptors win that too. I go home teams on those, and we'll see. We'll go from there. And then it's a double win. So whoever's, if you're on the losing side, you could come back out of it. There's this whole thing with it where, for example,
No, wait. This isn't win or go home.
it kind of yes.
So if the Lakers
it is
win,
win or go home. Yes.
So if the Lakers win, Minnesota's out of it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But there is kind of a thing where it's like, hey, you do have to kind of win twice if you are one of those lower seeded teams, like really low seeded teams. So, you have to go, if you win, then you have to play the winner of the next guy. Anyways, it's kind of confusing, but
So if the Lakers win, who do they go play?
I believe if the Lakers win, they would go play. Let me look at the standings here so I can actually kind of get an idea. Okay, so Lakers win. They're playing Timberwolves. I believe they right now are locked in. Let me see, because you have Pelicans, Thunder.
Mr. Amico says they would be playing Memphis.
Yes, I think they're locked in with Memphis. I think you're right about that. And then you have Pelicans, Thunder. The winner of that would play the Nuggets. So,
okay.
Yeah, it's confusing. It's confusing because
Why?
if the lower seeds win, then there's like this whole thing. I don't know. It's stupid.
Damn it.
It's
I
stupid.
was told there would be no math.
It's so confusing. I just wish they would do it. I bring this up because it is confusing even to me. I bring this up because I just wish they would go back to just let the 8 teams who make it. Do you agree with that?
So I was reading this text. I apologize.
No, go ahead.
So I was reading this text from our friend Patrick Amico. He goes, if they lose, they would play the winner of the Pels game.
Yes, because
So-
you have to, because they're the losers, and that's why again it's so confusing. Because
So if the Lakers
a higher
lose-
seed,
So if the Lakers lose, they might not be out
if
of
the
it yet?
If the Lakers lose, they could still move on because the teams that are in 9th and 10th have to win 2 games to move on. So yes, he's correct about that.
That's
why it's
stupid.
confusing.
It should just be a
Yes.
like a tournament, like a bracket play, like a March Madness. Win and go home.
And it's weird because they almost make it a tournament, but it's not. I don't know. It's so dumb. And the reason I also think it's dumb is because, like I've said before, of the 15 teams in the West, 15 teams in the East, 10 are making it into some sort of playoff, meaning you only have 5 teams, 10 teams total in the whole NBA that don't get to make the prestigious playoffs.
Again,
It's just not.
the NBA is not doing itself any favors in trying to get me back into following it as closely as I used to. Because you're right, all but 5 teams in each conference. Come on.
So
Come on.
so this is how it's set up right now. Nuggets are decided. That's not decided who they're going to play yet.
Yeah.
Obviously, same with the Grizzlies. Kings will play the Warriors. The Suns will play the Clippers. And with that, who would have thought at the beginning of the season that the Suns would be the divisional winners
Yeah,
of that division?
crazy.
I love that. That's crazy. Same with Bucks and Celtics. They're the 1-2 seed. 76ers are going to be taking on the Nets, and Cavaliers taking on the Knicks. Those have been set kind of for the last really the last week or so. Those guys haven't moved around at all. Any of the Eastern Conference teams. The West was a little crazy towards the end, which was kind of fun. So I always like that. We should probably head to a break, right? We're about that time.
Yeah,
Should we go
we
to a break
we should thank some of our sponsors and business partners.
and let them know that we're thinking about
Yes, exactly.
it. All right, we're going to take a break. More coming up next.
Did you know that St. George News has a new app? Download the St. George News app today and stay up to date on everything happening in Southern Utah. Get instant notifications on news, weather, sports, and more. Download the app today and get your local news now.
Hey, it's Sheldon Demke. Check out the latest episode of What's on the Menu, a behind-the-scenes tour of local restaurants. We'll see some of their favorite dishes and get an inside look on how these dishes are prepared. Check out this week's episode at stgeorgenews.com and click the shows on the menu tab.
As a local business owner, it's important to get the word out about your business. More people equals more revenue for you. Get your business in front of over 160,000 people in southern Utah each week with St. George News. Contact St. George News today.
Media is everywhere. It's a part of our daily life, our routine. Not just for entertainment, but to stay informed. Local media has the biggest impact on your daily life. It's what's around you, what matters. And at Canyon Media, our goal is to deliver the very best in local entertainment, news, and media. From our award-winning radio stations like 99.9 Coney Country to Southern Utah's #1 source for local news, St. George News, we believe in delivering free, fast, and accurate local news, entertainment, and information to all of Southern Utah through our entertaining on-air personalities and music, compelling local shows, and community events like the City of St. George 4th of July celebration and charitable events like Coney Coins for Kids. From our entire team of dedicated designers, videographers, salespeople, digital marketers, writers, and on-air talent, thank you for letting us be a part of your daily life. Canyon Media, here for you.
Check out this week's edition of TGIF on stgeorgenews.com. TGIF is your weekend adventure guide to all the fun and exciting things going on in Southern Utah this weekend. Find this week's edition at stgeorgenews.com and click the shows on the menu tab. Have a blast this weekend.
Hey, it's Caden Formaster.
And Mark Musgrave, the voice you know with the Fan Sports Network.
Check out our local sports radio show From the Bleachers live every weekday from 4 to 6 p.m.
Listen to us on the radio on 99.5 or 95.3 FM.
You can also listen through the Fan Sports Network app or watch the show live on the Fan Sports Network YouTube page.
The Fan Sports Network is your home of Utah Tech Trailblazers, high school sports, and the pros.
The Fan Sports Network, Southern Utah's home for local sports.
Wow.
Yep. How was the show, by the way?
Oh, Foreigner, they put on a great live show. And I have to tell you, that lead singer, his name's Chris Hansen. No, it's not Lou Graham. Everybody freaks out because it's not the original lead
Chris
singer.
Hansen is also a guy from a specific show that
from Dateline. That's what.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking
That's
of.
what another coworker
I was thinking
said.
of Dateline.
Did he tell you? Did he tell the whole crowd to, hey, come on in and take a seat?
Come on, take a seat. Just why don't you just take a seat for a little bit?
No, but he was really funny. So, Foreigner, they started their careers in 1976, so they've been around for a while. So a lot of their fan base are people of a certain age, like me,
Sure.
and older. It was so funny. He just played to his crowd really well. Like one of the questions was, hey, how many people in the audience have, rolled up a cassette tape with a number 2 pencil? Caden?
I've done that.
Oh, you have, really?
Yeah.
You'd be one of the few 30 and below though, then.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I mean, yeah. Here's the thing though, is I just, I grew up with parents that their music was all on cassette tapes. So when I was really, really young, we had this big stereo as part of our entertainment center. And by the way, our entertainment center was probably like a TV that screen was this big, but the box was that big. And anyways, we had this big thing, and it had a record player on top, and then it had a 6-disc CD changer.
Okay.
With 2 cassette tapes, and then these big speakers that were about 3 feet tall.
Had a little bit of everything.
So it was one of those. I don't know where my parents got it, but They had this big one. So we would sometimes, like if my mom was cleaning the house, she'd pull out this red box. And I don't know why I remember this red box full of cassette tapes. And so we'd pop in a cassette tape or whatever and listen to it while, she's cleaning the house or whatever. So weird memories about that from when I was probably like 4.
He asked that question, and then he goes, he said something to the fact of, the 40 and unders, they're asking themselves, what the heck is a number 2 pencil? And then he said, actually, they're asking also, what the heck is a cassette tape?
Yeah. I will say CDs were the majority of my childhood up until I was about 12, 13. I got my first MP3 player, and it held like 200 songs. And I was like, that's so many songs.
Yeah.
And now I have an infinite number of songs available in my fingertips.
Yeah.
Through my phone.
His last question was, though, or his last comment, one of his last comments was, and hey, remember when you'd be able to stand for a full concert? Because, again, we had 70-year-olds, 60-year-olds, 50-year-olds were the majority of this
so
concert.
They're all standing there like, I got to take a break.
I got to sit down.
I got to sit down for a little bit.
The lead singer was really funny, just kind of playing to his audience, and it worked. Macy and I were laughing pretty hard sometimes.
That's awesome.
So,
how did he sound in comparison? Obviously, since it
So
wasn't
good.
the original guy. You showed me a clip on your phone this morning, and I was like, it sounded good. Because you showed me Hot Blooded was the song.
Yeah, and the phone didn't do, like what I posted on social media, didn't do it any justice at all.
Never
I
does.
think the phone
It
kind
never
of picks
does.
up more of the voice. I don't know. He sounds magnificent. He sounds so much like Lou Gramm, and he hits the notes like Lou Gramm.
He seemed
the
like
original.
an entertainer. He was
he's
working
an entertainer.
the stage.
Oh, no question about it. If you ever get a chance, and I think their final tour, I think, is in 2024. So if you've ever wanted to see Foreigner, you want to do it next year.
Yeah, get it in now while you can.
Yeah, it was awesome. We had a great time.
Yeah. What's the best concert you've ever been to?
Oh, Def Leppard.
In Vegas as well?
Yeah.
Recently?
Probably my first one. And
Okay.
it was actually, we went and saw, it was with Macy and some friends of ours. We went and saw Foreigner, Styx, and Def Leppard, which was a great lineup.
That is a good lineup.
Just because that was the first time I've seen my favorite band of all time is Def Leppard.
Mhm.
And so that was a big thing for me, is to be able to see them for the first time. And then we saw them a couple of years later, and it was Cheap Trick, Poison, and Def Leppard, which was a great lineup too, but probably the first time though. Also Billy Joel. Billy Joel was fantastic.
I've heard he puts on a good show.
Oh my gosh, that was a lot of fun. I actually went with my mother-in-law on that one.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
She's a big Billy Joel fan as well, and we went down together.
Well, that's one way to do it.
Yeah.
I like that.
She
That works.
she paid for everything.
It's worth it then. It's worth it then. Yeah.
Tons of fun. Anyways.
That's cool.
What about you? What's your favorite concert?
That I've been to? Here's the thing. I have not been to a lot of concerts. The last concert I went to was if you don't count like the 4th of July concerts around here, because I go to those every year because, our company is the one that helps put them on. So we go. So I've been to all of those. But this is going to sound weird and you're going to be like, really? But here's the thing. This is my style of music. So for me, this is like one of my top 5 favorite bands of all time. And it was Mumford & Sons. I love that kind of music. You're probably sitting there like, Mumford & Sons?
Is that a TV show?
No,
from
it's a
Sanford
band.
& Son
No,
back in the 70s?
You might know some of their music. I don't know, maybe. Anyways, one of my favorite bands of all time, they were playing at USANA in Salt Lake. Now, here's the thing, Mark. You're thinking, I don't know who this is. The concert I went to, it was 10,000 people there, so people in Utah know who they are, right? However much USANA holds, I don't know, probably around there. It's probably pretty close.
You'll have to play me their most popular song at break.
I will.
Okay.
I will. They have a lot of very popular songs, but yeah, it's good. It's good. You know Ted Lasso, right? The show Ted Lasso? I'm trying to get you into watching it.
Yes, I don't have Apple TV yet, but I want to get it mainly just for that.
So the theme song is from Mumford & Sons.
Oh,
or at least from Marcus Mumford, who is the lead singer of Mumford & Sons. So I don't know if anyone knew that or not, but there you go. General knowledge, random trivia for you.
I like it.
Which is what I'm good at. Anyways, that one was one of my favorites just because It's a band that was kind of on my bucket list that I wanted to see of bands, just because, again, I'm just a big fan of theirs for some reason. I like that music.
And hey, stay tuned. Big announcement coming up in a week from tomorrow. You mentioned the July 4th concert. We will be announcing the July 4th concert. Who is going to come here and perform. And I'm telling you, folks,
it's exciting.
It is very exciting.
Very exciting.
You will want to be a part of our 4th of July celebration for sure.
And it's here's the thing. It's good every year.
It is.
It's
absolutely.
good every year.
Absolutely.
And I feel like every year it just continually outdoes itself. And I don't think this year's going to be any different.
I don't either.
That's as much of a spoiler as I will give you.
Yeah.
It's going to be so much fun.
And we'll talk about it on our show a week from tomorrow as well.
Yeah, and we'll talk about it once that announcement is out. If we'll also talk about it, but we got to let Coney do the honors.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're the country station, and we always throw on a solid country show. So we'll let them do the honors. But all right, let's take a break. More coming up at the top of the hour. Stick around.
Did you know that St. George News has a new app? Download the St. George News app today and stay up to date on everything happening in Southern Utah. Get instant notifications on news, weather, sports, and more. Download the app today and get your local news now.
Hey, it's Sheldon Demke. Check out the latest episode of What's on the Menu, a behind-the-scenes tour of local restaurants. We'll see some of their favorite dishes and get an inside look on how these dishes are prepared. Check out this week's episode at stgeorgenews.com and click the shows on the menu tab.
As a local business owner, it's important to get the word out about your business. More people equals more revenue for you. Get your business in front of over 160,000 people in southern Utah each week with St. George News. Contact St. George News today.
Media is everywhere. It's a part of our daily life, our routine. Not just for entertainment, but to stay informed. Local media has the biggest impact on your daily life. It's what's around you, what matters. And at Canyon Media, our goal is to deliver the very best in local entertainment, news, and media. From our award-winning radio stations like 99.9 Coney Country to Southern Utah's #1 source for local news, St. George News, we believe in delivering free, fast, and accurate local news, entertainment, and information to all of Southern Utah through our entertaining on-air personalities and music, compelling local shows, and community events like the City of St. George 4th of July celebration and charitable events like Coney Coins for Kids. From our entire team of dedicated designers, videographers, salespeople, digital marketers, writers, and on-air talent, thank you for letting us be a part of your daily life. Canyon Media, here for you.
Check out this week's edition of TGIF on stgeorgenews.com. TGIF is your weekend adventure guide to all the fun and exciting things going on in Southern Utah this weekend. Find this week's edition at stgeorgenews.com and click the shows on the menu tab. Have a blast this weekend.
Hey, it's Caden Formaster.
And Mark Musgrave, the voice you know with the Fan Sports Network.
Check out our local sports radio show From the Bleachers live every weekday from 4 to 6 p.m.
Listen to us on the radio on 99.5 or 95.3 FM.
You can also listen through the Fan Sports Network app or watch the show live on the Fan Sports Network YouTube page.
The Fan Sports Network is your home of Utah Tech Trailblazers, high school sports, and the pros.
The Fan Sports Network, Southern Utah's home for local sports.
So Mark doesn't know Mumford and Sons.
All I know is we need to get Caden out.
It was a good concert.
If that is his best concert, it is. I am taking the challenge on right now to get Caden out. Get you out of Enterprise a little bit.
It was a good concert, though. Here's why it might have been. There's a reason why this one may have been one of my better concerts. And it has to do with the fact that I was sitting in a VIP booth during it, and it was catered with, like, brisket.
That always helps.
That was great. Yeah. It's helpful. It's
That always
helpful.
helps. Gotta get my Dodger logo right there.
You don't have a rock star today to try to
I'm not telling you what's in that.
To coerce them?
I'm not trying to tell you what's in that.
I'm just waiting for the day that we actually get sponsored by,
I know,
like a rock star or Gatorade or something. I don't know.
Dude, it'd be so awesome.
I will set stuff all over tables, and I will make sure our camera angles show it if we get sponsored by a drink company. That'd be great.
They have no idea how well that we would pitch them.
Oh, yeah. We might not have lots of viewers, but they will, I guarantee, all of them by the end of the day will be buying that product.
Yes, absolutely.
Every single one.
Hey, so kind of now we're going to switch gears a little bit.
Switching gears, yes.
This is kind of a serious subject, and I am being serious. Sometimes I'll say I'm being serious, and I'm not going to switch to a serious subject, but this time I really am.
Mm-hmm.
So, Sue Bird, WNBA, just retired. One of the, really one of the greatest women's basketball players, certainly collegiately and WNBA-ish. Megan Rapinoe, everybody kind of knows her from her stands against the national anthem and
she's just
things like that.
She's loud.
Yeah, very
she's loud. Yeah.
Well, they're opposing a bill that is being led by a Republican senator. It's opposing the federal anti-trans sports ban. Now, let me just kind of back this up a little bit. So, the letter calls out Republican-led Protection of Girls and Women in Sports Act. Now, first off, that sounds like a fantastic bill. Okay. It would ban transgender and intersex girls and women from competing in sports across the country in women's sports. Not in male sports or boy sports. They can certainly compete in that. But it would ban them from playing in women's sports. Mm-hmm. And some of these great women athletes are opposing it. Because they were saying in this story where, women have had to fight for, the equality of pay and things like that. And first off, my thoughts on that is when women's sports bring in the money that male sports bring in, then yes, they should be paid as much. Mm-hmm. But if that revenue isn't there, a WNBA player should not get paid as much as an NBA player.
Now, percentage-wise, sure.
I could live with that.
Right?
I could live with that. And I don't know what the percentages
are. We'll say NBA players would make, and I don't know what the current contract is, so I'm just going to throw out a number. Let's say the players take home 50%. The other 50% goes towards everything else that you need to cover just doing sports, right? There's a lot of other people behind the scenes, all the behind the scenes, right? Okay, so women's basketball, if it was the same, 50% goes to the athletes. Okay, sure. I don't know what it currently is, so I don't want to necessarily say, hey, this is what I think it should be, and sound ignorant, because I really don't know what women's basketball contracts are structured to be. So,
but that's what they're
just a thought.
These two were saying that everything needs to be equal and all of that kind of stuff, and then they kind of flip the script on you a little bit because they want it to be equal. They want this and they want that. But yet, how is it equal for a biological born female, okay? A biological born female, a girl. How is that fair competing against a biological born male who identifies as a female? How is that fair? I don't see this being gray at all. This is black and white. Caden, can you help me out at all?
I mean, I could definitely give you my opinions on it.
I would like to hear it.
So let's go back to the bill. The bill is saying it's banning transgender athletes from competing at all
in girl sports. This would become part of the Title IX.
And I think it said the phrasing on it after reading it said sports. And the reason they wanted to oppose it is because it's like, we don't want to ban them from sports completely. So maybe rephrase it. Now, this is actually kind of where I stand on this, because I also feel like, hey, I don't want someone who is a biological male going and competing against women, because we've seen how that works. They go and they just dominate. It's insane. I don't think it's and if you want to say that you want to do it to support women, okay, well, biological women should not have to be lesser than to the transgender athletes, because in a lot of times they would be, because a lot of biological men are going out and they are just better, than the biological women are.
It's science.
It is general
biology.
Science. Now, here's the thing. I see why men's sports, they're like, hey, anyone can play men's sports, because honestly, in my opinion, if you're a woman and you're good enough to compete with the men, compete with the men.
Sure. I don't have a problem with that.
But we need a place for women's sports, because women do need a place to compete. I think they do. We're big supporters of girls sports here at the high school level, right? But if all the boys just decided one day, you know what, let's just go play for the girls teams. Okay, well then soon enough you'd have 2 boys leagues and no girls leagues at all.
Yeah, you wouldn't.
Right? And so you do have to protect women's sports for what it is. Now, is this where we can create some sort of an intramural league? I don't know. And just have it be, hey, we don't care what your gender is, just go play the sport.
Right.
I don't know. Is there some way to kind of appease in the middle? What does that middle ground look like? I don't know. Because this does get a little political, but it also is sports. At the end of the day, this is still important to the stuff we talk about every single day. And that is the backbone of the sport in itself. And, if I wanted to go out tomorrow and say, if I'm in high school and I'm not good enough to make the baseball team, and I say, well, I'm going to go play for the softball team then instead.
Right.
No, I can't, because just because I was just shy of making the baseball team, I might be pretty dang good in the softball team.
Exactly.
You
right.
know, right?
Right.
And I might be taking away an opportunity from someone who now doesn't make the cut to the softball team because I'm there, right? I that's where I have issues is if you want to protect women's sports, then you need to draw a line somewhere, right? And I try to be really open-minded. I don't like to say that I'm on one side or another of certain issues, but when it comes to sports, sometimes there has to be lines drawn, because
there has to be.
Otherwise it's just not fair. And
No.
you need to find a way to make it fair for everyone involved. And you might get the argument, well, it's not fair for the transgender athletes. You're right, and that's unfortunate.
It is unfortunate.
What can you do for them? I don't know, but you can't put them in women's sports.
No, you can't. You can't.
I'm sorry. And even let's say it's let's say you have a biological woman who wants to transition to male, right? Okay, and maybe they want to go play in the men's sports. Okay, are you good enough, first off? And if you are, I don't really care, because men's sports is a different ball game, right? Because if you are good enough to play men's sports as a girl, I don't even care. Go play the men's sport because it's just so rare.
Yeah, it's just one of those. There definitely has to be lines drawn, and and maybe this is one of those proverbial. There's only a one-way street where women can go play men's sports or girls can go play boys sports. I don't think anybody has an issue with that if they're good enough.
Yeah.
But to go the other way, for men to play in women or boys to play in girl sports, it can't go that way. It just can't. And if you're born a biological boy, you have all of the inners, the chromosomes, and the everything that makes you a male makes you stronger, faster. I mean, that's just the case.
Well, and I think to try to put it in perspective, imagine, again, let's say at my age, I'm in my 20s, right? I'm not good enough to be in the MLB or even to play in the minor leagues. I'm too far removed from college, but I still want to compete in a sport. Let's say it's baseball season. We'll just talk about baseball. Okay, well, I'm going to go sign up for Little League because I, just because I want to go compete somewhere where I'll be really good.
Yeah, right.
No,
right.
it just it doesn't work that way. And I know it's more complex than that, and maybe that's a really bad example because there's some complexities here. And I'm one of those where it's like, hey, if you do identify as transgender, good for you. I don't care personally. That doesn't affect me in my day-to-day, but it does when it comes to sports. Sports is one of those few arenas where it does come into play and it does matter.
And I think they do need to specify this because I'm reading this right here, and I know you have as well, where the Biden administration proposed new guidelines, which include state legislatures not being able to outright ban transgender athletes from competing in sports. I do think that they need to add the word female sports, girls sports, women's sports, what have you.
Yeah, and
there needs to be a little more definition.
And maybe it's just, hey, you can't compete in the women's sports.
Yes.
You can compete in sports.
You have to give them an outlet, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and maybe that outlet is you can't compete in women's sports, but if you want to try out for the men's team, go ahead.
Yes.
And I know that's even a slippery slope because then you have people saying like, okay, but they're not a guy. It's like, okay, but any of the girls could go compete for the men's sports. I don't no one cares. They call it boys sports just because, again, you have to differentiate. But football is technically, according to Title IX, because that's the other thing. Title IX, you do have that separation of boys sports and girls sports.
Yep.
Football is a boys sports according to Title IX. There are girls who play football.
Absolutely.
There are. Like, even though Title IX exists, there are girls that play football. And no one cares because we know if they're good enough to go out there and play football, then by all means, go play football.
Well, and that's what Title IX guarantees the girls is if it's not offered in a girl sport, they can play the boy sport. Like if they're not offered, whatever you offer the boys, you need to offer the girls. And I'm all in on that. I really am. I'm a proponent to girl sports. I support them. I announce for them. So yeah, so I'm with you though. It's football, they can go play football if they're fast enough, strong enough, all that kind of stuff. I don't know if I'd want to put her at offensive line.
Hey, if she was good enough.
I guess if she was good enough.
Good enough.
But here's another question, just to kind of flip it around a little bit. You're a lot closer to getting out of high school than me.
Sure.
It was a long, long time ago.
And even for me, that was 11 years.
Back in the 19th century, the 20th century for me.
Whew, man,
back in the
dinosaurs were still around.
Yeah, back in the 1900s.
Yeah,
is when
back when they weren't even taking photographs yet, right?
So I know you were a track runner and cross country and that kind of stuff. So put that aside.
Okay.
Now you're a wrestler. Okay. Would you be comfortable? So take Caden Formaster when he was a senior in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be comfortable wrestling against a transgender?
I don't.
I'm just throwing this question out. I don't know the answer to that.
Let's say it's like a transition to a male.
Yeah.
It's hard to say because here's the thing. I know that right now in wrestling, a lot of times with girls wrestling becoming more and more popular, a lot of girls are getting into it, but their schools don't have girls wrestling yet, so the girls will wrestle against the guys, right? It's not. I mean, I feel like if you're okay with wrestling a girl as a guy, then it's not that big of a deal to me to wrestle someone that's openly trans, right? But again, it's one of those situations where it's like if they're good enough, but it's like I don't know because I grew up with the mindset of you respect women. Right, you do.
Right,
and
exactly.
So let's just say even with wrestling, right? If the girl's like, "Hey, I want to wrestle," and so coach was like, "All right, you got to wrestle her," I'd have a hard time giving it my 100%. I don't know. I know that today's teenagers, today's youth are a little more accepting of that, and they're just like, "Okay, whatever, yeah, I'll do it. It's fine." It's tough though. Again, it's a bit of a slippery slope for me because I want to be accepting, but also I do personally have lines drawn in certain places.
Right.
I wouldn't feel comfortable wrestling against a girl, but if the girl was like, no, I don't care what happens, like let's do this, let's compete, then okay. If you insist, I guess I'm gonna give it my all now. If everyone's prepared for it, then sure.
I was just trying to look up, I think I found it, from the UHSAA handbook. Let me see if I can get here. Oh, here we go. Let's see here.
See what they have to say about it.
Yeah, and I think that Utah is definitely a state that protects girls. Okay, here it is. So this is from the UHSAA handbook, guidelines 1.1.4. This is addressing transgender participation. This policy addresses eligibility determinations for students who have a gender identity that is different from the gender listed on their official birth certificate. For the protection of competitive balance and the integrity of women's sports, the UHSAA, Utah High School Athletics Association, will review athletic eligibility decisions based on gender assignment of transgender students in accordance with its approved policies and appeals procedures. If a sport is offered for both boys and girls, girls must play on the girls' team and boys must play on the boys' team. If a school sponsors only a single team in a sport, girls are eligible to play on boys' teams, but boys are not eligible to play on girls' team. And so I would assume, let's see here, if it with the consent of parents or a legal guardian, a student shall be permitted to participate on a gender-specific sports team that is consistent with the public gender identity of that student for all other purposes. So, the state of Utah definitely is trying to protect girls and women's sports. Again, that's one of those one-way streets where I think it's okay. And I know that, everybody, you can't pick and choose the one-way streets that it's okay, but this one it is. Girls can play boy sports, but boys cannot play girl sports if that sport is offered to both.
And it even says here, to go a little bit further in the handbook, a female to male transgender student athlete who is taking a medically prescribed hormone treatment under a physician's care for the purpose of gender transition is eligible only for a boys team as well.
Perfect. Yes.
And that actually was one of my questions, was what do you do in that situation where someone has been taking hormones, which can create more muscle growth, which could make you a better athlete, right?
Yeah, for sure.
What do you do in that situation? Well, that's what the state of Utah is doing. That's not even my opinion. I'm just telling you what the state of Utah is doing. Now, I do also agree with that because, again, you have to protect what is established for girls' sports, girls and women's sports. And it's so hard. I don't know what the right answer is, and I don't know if anyone does. And I feel like it's this constant volley back and forth of this is what we want to do, and then somebody says, no, we don't agree with that. Let's not do it that way. It's like, let's do it this way. It's like, well, no, we don't agree with that. And we haven't settled on anything that everyone can agree on. And I don't know if we ever will, because there's so much gray area in all of this. And right now, I think where the state of Utah is at and what's in the UHSAA handbook is right about where I would have to personally keep it as well, where it's just like, look, if you want to compete, you can. It's on a case-by-case basis, maybe, but more than likely, you're just going to have to try to sign up for the boys' sports and hope you make it.
Right. And to me, you say there's a lot of gray area. I really don't think so. I think it's black and white. I think if you're biologically, and this is for sports only, not for living life. Okay, let me define that.
And that's the thing. We're talking about sports.
Yes, we're
this
talking
is just sports.
We're talking sports. I'm not talking about how you live your life. I'm just, hey, you do you. But talking sports, if you were born biologically a boy, you would have to play boy sports. If you were born biologically a female, you would have to play female girls and women's sports. That's, to me, is about as black and white as you can get. Again, this is just for sports only. The way you live your life, again, doesn't affect me. And hey, good to you.
Yeah.
Whatever
That's-
makes you happy for sure.
That's how I feel. I'm with you.
But when it comes to sports, there has to be lines drawn because girls' sports, women's sports has to be protected.
It does. It does. And if you really are truly fighting for women's sports, then I would hope that you kind of also see that. If you're fighting for transgender sports, then I think you also need to fight for the ideal of you can't taint women's sports by making it more difficult for them to compete against someone who is just going to be biologically better than them.
And hey, if you have a comment on this, go ahead and give us a call, 435-990-9950. You can call us, you can text us, give us your opinion. We would love to put it out there. Yeah.
And this is such an opinionated thing, and maybe you disagree with us, maybe you do agree with us. It's a lot. It's a lot. We said it would be heavy. We said this wouldn't be super, what's the word I want to say?
Well,
when we started, you were
controversial.
Like, you said it was going to be controversial. You're right. This isn't just clean cut sports today.
Right.
We do have to get controversial sometimes because sports are not always just clean and in uniform, and this is what happened today in sports. Moving on. It's not.
And it's out there, though. I mean, this is a story that's going to be on CBS Sports. It's going to be a story on ESPN and SI.com. I mean, this is a story that's coming out. So I definitely wanted to address it because I did see it out there, and I thought, wow, this is something that affects us too. Here, maybe not as much here locally in Southern Utah, being in our little bubble.
Sure.
But it's here. I mean, there is some here, some controversy here and that kind of stuff. So we just need to be prepared for it. And, UHSAA is out in front of it. They have their procedure in line right now. And I think that's good.
I think so too. I think right now, Utah feels like it's on the right track. I feel like they've done what they can because Utah's not one of those states that has outright banned transgender athletes from competing.
Correct.
They've just told them, we don't care if you want to compete, but we're going to do this on a case-by-case basis and see if you can qualify for one side or the other.
Where you would think Utah would be one of those states that outright ban it. But, yeah, you're exactly right. It's not outright banned, and there are some states that have done that.
Yeah.
We're not one of them.
And looking at it, I mean, in that article, it talks about Kansas, South Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, Oklahoma, and, of course, more traditionally Republican states, of course. That's
Utah is as well.
Utah
and
is
a religious-based state.
Yeah, to throw that into it as well, right? So the fact that Utah is a little more lenient, just a little bit. Again, they say we'll look at it as a case-by-case basis. At least they're trying to find some sort of middle ground, and I at least have to commend them for that, right? Because again, you say it's black and white, and I say I think there's a sliver of gray in there, and I think Utah says that too, and that's why they say case by case basis.
Yeah,
I think they're like we'll push it one way or the other. So, anyways, all right, well. Tough conversation. You can still send in something on the text line. If you have an opinion, text it in right now, 435-990-9950. Or you can throw it in the YouTube comments as well. We're over streaming on YouTube right now. You can see our lovely faces every single day streaming live over on YouTube. So, all right, let's go to a break. We have more coming back, so stick around with us here on From the Bleachers.
Did you know that St. George News has a new app? Download the St. George News app today and stay up to date on everything happening in Southern Utah. Get instant notifications on news, weather, sports, and more. Download the app today and get your local news now.
Hey, it's Sheldon Demke. Check out the latest episode of What's on the Menu, a behind-the-scenes tour of local restaurants. We'll see some of their favorite dishes and get an inside look on how these dishes are prepared. Check out this week's episode at stgeorgenews.com and click the shows on the menu tab.
As a local business owner, it's important to get the word out about your business. More people equals more revenue for you. Get your business in front of over 160,000 people in Southern Utah each week with St. George News. Contact St. George News today.
Media is everywhere. It's a part of our daily life, our routine, not just for entertainment, but to stay informed. Local media has the biggest impact on your daily life. It's what's around you, what matters. And at Canyon Media, our goal is to deliver the very best in local entertainment, news, and media. From our award-winning radio stations like 99.9 Coney Country to Southern Utah's #1 source for local news, St. George News, we believe in delivering free, fast, and accurate local news, entertainment, and information to all of Southern Utah through our entertaining on-air personalities and music, compelling local shows, and community events like the City of St. George 4th of July celebration and charitable events like Coney Corns for Kids. From our entire team of dedicated designers, videographers, salespeople, digital marketers, writers, and on-air talent, thank you for letting us be a part of your daily life. Canyon Media, here for you.
Check out this week's edition of TGIF on stgeorgenews.com. TGIF is your weekend adventure guide to all the fun and exciting things going on in Southern Utah this weekend. Find this week's edition at stgeorgenews.com and click the shows on the menu tab. Have a blast this weekend.
Hey, it's Caden Formaster.
And Mark Musgrave, the voice you know with the Fan Sports Network.
Check out our local sports radio show From the Bleachers live every weekday from 4 to 6 p.m.
Listen to us on the radio on 99.5 or 95.3 FM.
You can also listen through the Fan Sports Network app or watch the show live on the Fan Sports Network YouTube page.
The Fan Sports Network is your home of Utah Tech Trailblazers, high school sports, and the pros.
The Fan Sports Network, Southern Utah's home for local sports. Welcome back in, everybody. It's From the Bleachers, hanging out in the Findlay Hyundai studio. Get more than you pay for at Findlay Hyundai. Caden Formaster here and Mark Musgrave.
The voice you know.
All right, Mark, as a reminder to our listeners that you can watch us over on YouTube. We now streaming the show live over there. And it's an easy place to join the conversation. So if we are talking about something and you want to have your voice be heard, hop into the chat over on the YouTube stream and we'll involve you in some way.
And you can watch me strategically place my Dodger cup to where the logo is showing because they needed a little help right now. They need a little love. They lost 3 this weekend to Arizona.
That's not good. That's a bad loss.
3 of them.
That's a bad loss. Arizona's not supposed to be good this year.
Dude, I know. Hey, did you see where Pittsburgh is?
Pittsburgh.
That's a good
It's one of my favorite quotes.
You got me on that one.
Yeah.
You got me on that one.
No, I actually haven't looked at any MLB standings really, actually. So
yeah, take a look at this. Pittsburgh is, oh man, I just lost my page. Okay. Pittsburgh is second in the Central right now. They're behind Milwaukee 7-2, Pittsburgh 6-3, but yet projections, they still have a 0% chance of winning the division and under like 0.1% to go to the postseason.
Yeah.
Actually, those projections have changed a little bit, but I was looking at it earlier and that's what it said.
Well, and especially now after losing Cruz, they might have some struggles. Because did you hear what happened with O'Neal Cruz?
Oh no, I didn't.
So O'Neal Cruz, their very large shortstop, went to go slide into home and had a collision with the catcher broke his ankle.
Oh, boy.
He's one of their top-notch guys right now. So
Wow.
not good. Not good at all. So
No, that's not good.
yeah, just not good. So
Well, it's funny. I'm looking at the CBS Sports projections of the Central, and St. Louis, who is 3-6 in last place in the Central, they have now. This is CBS Sports projections. They have a 100% chance of winning the division and 100% chance of getting into the postseason. They're in last place right now, sitting 3-6.
Yikes.
So they, the MLB, and we talked about this when we talked about our projections too. We only think that one team will come into that division.
It's true.
And
Yeah, I
CBS
agree.
Sports thinks the same thing. But the funny part is they think it's the last place team right now. Sitting 3-6. I know it's early. I know it's early.
I would agree with that too. I think the Cardinals are the best team in that division. But this is how baseball is early on. If you remember right, there was a point last year when it was, do you remember when it was the Angels and the Dodgers were leading in the
I remember.
And everyone was like, man, both LA teams are just killing it. This is so cool. And we were through like 20 something games.
And then
the Angels didn't even make the playoffs.
Angels just went down.
Yeah. Kind of look at the standings. You're right. Padres and Diamondbacks currently tied right now at 6-4.
And I'm not worried.
They shouldn't be. Not at this point. 10 games into the
It's
season.
early.
Come on.
I don't like to lose those games that you're supposed to win, though.
Yeah, I get that. The Rays, though, still undefeated.
Yeah, they're looking.
That's pretty impressive.
They're looking strong too. And I was just going to pull up the projections there. They do have them 100% going to the postseason. CBS Sports does.
Interesting. Right now, they're in the bottom of the fourth against the Red Sox at home, scoreless. So, yeah, so far, that's where it's at. A lot of baseball today, actually. I think every team is in contention today.
So mad for the first week and a half of the season. I have not been able to watch the Dodgers on my MLB app that
Why?
I pay for, because the first 9 games, the first 10 games they started off were the Rockies and Arizona. They started off with Arizona, went to Colorado to play the Rockies, and then back to Arizona. And all of those games, for whatever reason, because I live in southern Utah, are blacked out, both the Rockies and the Diamondbacks.
Yeah. I want to get, man, I really want to get MLB TV, but it's like $150 or something, and I'm just like, eh.
You can split that up over like the month of the seasons.
I know, but
everything's on a payment plan now, man.
I know. I just don't really care to. I don't know.
Well, I mean, hey, NBA is your sport. You had the NBA.
I did have NBA League Pass.
And MLB is my favorite. So,
but there's nothing better than just turning on a baseball game, because you could just have it on in the background.
Absolutely,
it's a slow sport. You could just have it on.
Absolutely,
there's something about that I really enjoy. And I had it last year. I loved it. I used the crap out of it.
Yeah,
I used MLB TV a lot last year, but this year I'm just kind of like, I don't want to swing that money.
And again,
right
I don't mind being in one blackout zone, but being in two, I think is a ripoff.
Imagine living somewhere like Iowa where you don't have a team, but you're blacked out for the Brewers, for both Chicago teams, for the Cardinals, and I want to say there was one or two more.
And that's a real thing?
Yeah, it's a real thing. You don't even have a baseball team, and you're blocked out in all of those different markets.
Jeez.
I want to say maybe Detroit was in there.
Oh, I'd be so mad.
I don't remember.
So mad.
I would be too. I'd be so mad. All right, hey, let's get into something else here. Let's switch some gears from baseball. Let's talk some football right now, because the draft is coming up pretty fast.
It is.
Actually. We're really not too far off from the NFL
2 weeks?
draft.
2 weeks away?
Something like that. It's pretty close.
Yeah, it's coming up.
It's pretty close. Let me look up what the date is exactly, because I should know this at this point, but I got too many dates in my head, too much stuff that goes on in life,
Trust
hard
me.
to keep track of it all. Don't mind me as I just sit here and Google April 27th through the 29th. So 27th will be the first round.
So 17 days away.
17 days, 2 weeks, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
A little more. Anyway, so that's coming up. Looking at the mock draft, The first two, well, the first pick is set. That the Panthers had the first pick. From there, you just never know. People will get trade happy, and right now with how heavy of a quarterback draft this is, I would fully expect some trades to happen.
And with the Panthers having the first draft, I know that Bryce Young has sat down with their owners. The owners went to his pro day. The relationship right now between the Panthers and Bryce Young is certainly closer than the Panthers and C.J. Stroud, or the Panthers and Will Levis. It's really leaning towards Bryce Young being that first quarterback taken.
And what's interesting, though, is we mentioned this the other day on the show that the Panthers owner was talking to C.J. Stroud about, like, hey, when you're here next year, and kind of giving off the idea that C.J. Stroud is kind of a lock at that number one pick. That might not be the case. So that's what's interesting about that, right? Is who really is going to be the first overall pick between Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud? So who knows? Right now, looking at CBS Sports, their latest mock draft does have Bryce Young as number one.
And it's so funny if you look at the notes, because again, I read an article just earlier today about this, where I read that the owners are having dinners with Bryce Young and just super close and all this kind of stuff. And then you read the notes of CBS Sports, and it says the word on the street is that the Panthers are higher on C.J. Stroud than Young, but there's still 2+ weeks to go until we know for certain. New coach Frank Reich has talked about the importance of size at the position. Tell Russell Wilson that and Kyler Murray.
Yeah, right.
But Young is the most NFL-ready quarterback on the board.
And he very well could be. I think Bryce Young could be a very good quarterback in the league. But I don't know. He just has to have that chance.
It's so funny. This is probably the least impressive Alabama quarterback that I've watched. And I mean, just even this year, watching Alabama the way that I do, I try to watch them every week. I didn't get a chance to this year, but I don't know. He never really impressed me like, oh my gosh, that guy. But, I'm not an NFL scout.
I'm kind of with you on that. I would take C.J. Stroud first. To me, that's not a question. Like I would take C.J. Stroud personally.
And see, I'm not an Ohio State quarterback guy either.
I know, but he's better though.
We'll see. Time will tell.
As in my opinion, as college quarterbacks go, I would 100% take C.J. Stroud. Just because Ohio State, he was better. The team was better. And the team was better because of him.
No doubt about it.
And Alabama just did not have a good year. They didn't. So I don't know. And you look at Alabama quarterbacks. You have, just in recent years, Mac Jones, Tua, Jalen Hurts. Like, there's plenty of decent Alabama quarterbacks.
Those are three pretty good quarterbacks
that are coming out of there. So,
two out of, yeah. And Ohio, Justin Fields.
Yeah.
Who else out of Ohio State?
That's still around? That's still good?
Yeah. So I would say that Alabama has a better track record when it comes to quarterbacks transitioning from college to the NFL.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say Alabama does so far, for sure.
And Justin Fields, that story hasn't been written yet. So
no, he's got time. He's got a lot of time. Obviously, yeah, you have Justin Fields. But outside of that, I feel like he's really the top one right now. Something that we'll talk about in the future. So this is just a little hint. Dwayne Haskins, Ohio State quarterback.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So
that's right.
We're going to talk about that a little bit more coming up.
Yeah.
Keep that in the back.
Kind of a crazy story that happened. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, that's interesting. Those guys are right now kind of set at the first two picks. Here's the other thing too. CBS Sports has a mock trade set up for that second pick from Houston to Nashville with the Tennessee Titans.
Yes.
Do you think that C.J. Stroud is going to be playing for the Titans because that's what CBS Sports thinks?
You know, again, this is what I like about mock drafts is that people can just throw stuff out there, and it's just really entertaining talk radio for me. Who knows if Tennessee's going to jump into a trade with Arizona and do that trade and that kind of stuff. Now, I know there's a lot of teams trying to jump up to that second and third spot. I know the Raiders are one of them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're looking for a quarterback. They know that Garoppolo probably isn't the answer. Certainly down the road, he might be an answer for 2 or 3 years, but they know that he's not the long-term answer. And I think they think that one of these quarterbacks is, whether it's one of these two guys, whether it's Anthony Richardson, who we'll talk about here in a minute or two, but I don't know.
I don't know either.
But that's what I love about mock drafts. It's really just, hey, I think this team's going to do this.
Well, so speaking of Anthony Richardson, they have him at 3rd, projected in a trade from the Cardinals to the Colts. So here's something interesting too. If you follow Q, our Raiders insider, Q Myers on Twitter, he was a part of a different show where someone asked him, do the Raiders trade up for a quarterback to that 3rd spot? Because that 3rd spot potentially could be one of those
right
where Arizona's like, we don't really need anything that early on. And his thought is only if Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud does not go 1 and 2, if one of them is available at 3, then the Raiders would try to make some sort of deal happen.
But not for Richardson or
they don't
or
want
Levis.
Richardson. They don't want Levis. They don't want to go that way. Otherwise, they are going to go for a defensive guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been saying the same thing on his podcast as well.
And
so.
the quarterback selection for next year should be better than this year's class, from what I've read.
And this year's a good class.
It is.
But next year still has...
On paper.
On paper. Next year is still going to have a really good draft class. I'm curious where, like, Cam Rising, for example, he's coming back to play for Utah. If he enters the draft, he might, depending on how Utah does this year, he might be pretty high on that list.
He has to stay healthy for the full season.
Has to. Yes, he will. Because if he's not, then people will look at that as a big red flag.
Yes.
So...
Because he's been injured the last 2 out of the last 2 seasons.
Yeah. If not, the Raiders do have that 7th pick. Right now, the 7th pick, according to this mock draft, is Tyree Wilson, an edge rusher out of Texas Tech.
Now, the only thing I don't like about this is now they have it position ranked 3rd, okay? And he would be the 3rd one taking out of that position, but prospect ranked 15th. So you're taking a 15th ranked player and you're picking them 7. I don't like that. I would much rather see them go with who the next pick would be, Christian Gonzalez. His position rank, he's a corner. His position rank is 1st, and his prospect rank is 3rd.
Yeah.
To me, that's a better pick. Now, I know you kind of you got to take and fill holes where you think your team needs. They need corners, though, too.
They do. They have
Las
Hobbs,
Vegas.
And that's about it.
Yes.
Hobbs is he's great, but he can't be the only one. You have to have a couple of decent corners. I wouldn't mind picking up a good corner.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a bad idea. He's coming out of Oregon, one of those ducks that's coming over. So, yeah, he could be pretty good. They could use some help on the edge because they have Max Crosby on one side,
Chandler Jones on the other.
Chandler Jones is starting to fall off.
He's
though,
an older man.
Getting someone as a rookie to come off the bench, maybe behind Chandler Jones right now. And he'll
have Chandler Jones come in and spell.
And let's be honest, they rotate those guys through really fast.
Yeah,
I mean, one play to the next, you just never know who's actually going to be out there. So, I think getting a good young rookie in there at that edge position isn't a bad idea.
Yeah, the notes on him, the notes on Tyree Wilson. The more you watch of Wilson, the more you love his game. Not only what he put on tape at Texas Tech, but his upside 2 to 3 years down the road. He's long, has the frame to add weight if needed, and he's dominant, high motor pass rusher who can take over games.
And I like the sound of that. I like the sound of that.
Maybe let's take him as a Raider.
Okay, there you go. All right, hey, let's take a break. When we come back, we mentioned we need to talk about Dwayne Haskins. So coming up next, let's get into that and the story of some tragedy.
Yeah,
obviously. For those who don't already know the story. So that's next here on From the Bleachers. Stick around.
Did you know that St. George News has a new app? Download the St. George News app today and stay up to date on everything happening in Southern Utah. Get instant notifications on news, weather, sports, and more. Download the app today and get your local news now.
Hey, it's Sheldon Demke. Check out the latest episode of What's on the Menu, a behind-the-scenes tour of local restaurants. We'll see some of their favorite dishes and get an inside look on how these dishes are prepared. Check out this week's episode at stgeorgenews.com and click the shows on the menu tab.
As a local business owner, it's important to get the word out about your business. More people equals more revenue for you. Get your business in front of over 160,000 people in southern Utah each week with St. George News. Contact St. George News today.
Media is everywhere. It's a part of our daily life, our routine. Not just for entertainment, but to stay informed. Local media has the biggest impact on your daily life. It's what's around you, what matters. And at Canyon Media, our goal is to deliver the very best in local entertainment, news, and media. From our award-winning radio stations like 99.9 Coney Country to Southern Utah's #1 source for local news, St. George News, we believe in delivering free, fast, and accurate local news, entertainment, and information to all of Southern Utah through our entertaining on-air personalities and music, compelling local shows, and community events like the City of St. George 4th of July celebration and charitable events like Coney Coins for Kids. From our entire team of dedicated designers, videographers, salespeople, digital marketers, writers, and on-air talent, thank you for letting us be a part of your daily life. Canyon Media, here for you.
Check out this week's edition of TGIF on stgeorgenews.com. TGIF is your weekend adventure guide to all the fun and exciting things going on in Southern Utah this weekend. Find this week's edition at stgeorgenews.com and click the shows on the menu tab. Have a blast this weekend.
Hey, it's Caden Formaster.
And Mark Musgrave, the voice you know with the Fan Sports Network.
Check out our local sports radio show From the Bleachers live every weekday from 4 to 6 p.m.
Listen to us on the radio on 99.5 or 95.3 FM.
You can also listen through the Fan Sports Network app or watch the show live on the Fan Sports Network YouTube page.
The Fan Sports Network is your home of Utah Tech Trailblazers, high school sports, and the pros.
The Fan Sports Network, Southern Utah's home for local sports. Back at it here on From the Bleachers. Thank you for joining us today here on the Fan Sports Network on this Monday coming out from Easter break. It's Caden Formaster here and Mark Musgrave.
The voice you know.
All right, Mark, as we wrap up the show today, let's get into, we mentioned Dwayne Haskins and, last year we learned about his passing and it was kind of a shock to the sports world. But you have mentioned that maybe there's a little more to the story than we have originally known.
Yeah, kind of a strange update on that. So there's been some details come out, and his attorney put out a statement by saying that he alleges. Let's see. Let me get these words right. That he may have been robbed and blackmailed, leading up to his death. And just looking, so here are some details when it was released at the time. Haskins was legally drunk at the time of his death, Mm-hmm. 2 separate blood samples were taken from Haskins, and his blood alcohol level was more than 0.20 in each sample. The lower sample measured at 0.20, while higher sample measured at 0.24. Which is about 3 times the legal limit for driving. Now, Haskins is believed to have been driving his car before it ran out of gas on the interstate, Legal drugs were also found in his system. The medical examiner also found ketamine, which is a painkiller. The medical report didn't state whether Haskins had been prescribed the drug or if he'd been using it just recreational. And the death was ruled accidental. After leaving his car, Haskins was struck by a dump truck The report found that since Haskins was unexpectedly in the roadway, the driver of the dump truck couldn't have done anything differently to help fix the situation. Due to the circumstances, Haskins' death was ruled an accident. Now, his attorney is saying that his I don't know what this has to do with anything, but his watch was stolen before he was killed. It says 1 year after the death of Dwayne Haskins, his family is still seeking answers about what happened during the final hours of his life. In an effort to get those answers, the family has filed a civil lawsuit, which contains some shocking new allegations. It is believed that Dwayne was targeted and drugged as part of a blackmail and robbery conspiracy. What occurred in the hours before Dwayne was killed? Many questions remain unanswered. One reason the family believes this theory is because Haskins was wearing a highly expensive watch that was stolen from him shortly before his death.
Interesting.
Why would that bring up the questions of blackmail and drugged because his watch was stolen?
It's a good question.
Maybe, and how do we know it was stolen? Could it have been lost?
There's another part of this here that talks about how he was just feet from making it across the road.
Yes, exactly.
They also say that he was struck by a dump truck.
Mm-hmm.
I believe they said it was a dump truck, right?
Yeah, an old dump truck.
An old dump truck. But they said there were cars traveling in front of the dump truck and cars traveling behind, and none of them had any issues with him being in the way or anything like that.
Are they kind of saying that
they're basically saying the dump
truck was set out to kill him?
Whoever, but here's the thing: the driver of the dump truck, they don't have phone records for, so they don't know if it was someone who was specifically targeting him. And who knows? Maybe if there's blackmail involved, you can get all criminal minds on this and say, hey, maybe he was drugged and trying to run away, and someone driving the old dump truck was in on it. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's crazy. There's so much in this story that is just shocking. It's insane.
Yeah. So stay tuned, because it sounds like this might go a little further to see what happens with, again, tragedy. When Dwayne Haskins was killed.
Yeah.
Such a young athlete and certainly was going to go on and do, I think, pretty good things. Now we'll never know.
Now we'll never know.
But to come out, have the attorney come out and maybe they just want more answers. I don't know. And maybe there isn't more answers.
Yeah,
maybe it was just him running out of gas, having alcohol and drugs in his system, getting out of the vehicle, and then, other cars dodged him. Well, you know what? I don't know if you've ever driven a dump truck.
They don't move easily.
They don't turn on a dime. That's for sure. So it's I don't know. It's hard to say, and I'm not going to make light of this situation, but stay tuned. I mean,
maybe it's one of those things that maybe they should be looking into it just to make sure to check all the boxes, because you don't want someone, like, let's say there was something nefarious going on,
right?
You don't want them to get away with it, So maybe just for the best, look into it. Innocent till proven guilty, I'm sure, but
right.
But at least look into some things. So, yeah. So the Dallas Mavericks, last game of the season.
Yeah.
They didn't play anybody, and that included a healthy Luka. So the Mavericks are under investigation from the NBA for tanking, which is not legal with the NBA.
Okay.
And so, so they are looking into it because they're like, all right, they knew they were missing out on the playoffs, or at least they had a chance. If they would have won, they could have been in that play-in game.
Okay.
They could have been in the 10th seed instead of Oklahoma City. Instead, them losing gets them better draft picks.
Does this constitute an investigation by the NBA?
I mean, I don't care, but
they let the Clippers sit. Who's their star player down there?
Which one? Paul George, Kawhi Leonard.
Kawhi Leonard goes from San Antonio to the Clippers. Yes, I know he was injured and that kind of stuff, but He is
He had a stop in Toronto, won a championship.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Load management. How does load management? Can't they just come down and say, "Oh, load management"?
I mean, they'll try to play it off that way. Everyone knows what they were doing. The reason they're bringing it up is just because they had a chance to make the playoffs, and they chose losing. They chose resting. They chose load management on the last game of the season when they had a chance to make the playoffs.
Hey,
what team does that?
Hey,
only a team that wants a better draft pick.
You allow people to do that in the midseason. You need to allow them to do it at the end of the season.
I guess so.
They made their own animal.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
They created their own animal. The
created
NBA
their
did.
own monster. All right, that's it from us, everybody. Have a good one. We'll see you tomorrow.